Cool. Once upon a time, there was an ocean, but now there's a mountain range. Sometimes something unstoppable put into motion. Nothing is different, but everything has changed, said Paul Simon. It is no surprise that things have changed. The pandemic has shifted the needs of many organizations, which have required employees and leaders to take on new roles or expand roles that they might have been smaller initially or have not even existed in the past. The business events industry is open, and I'm delighted to start seeing so much more movement within our sector. As SAACI Chair, I extend a warm welcome to you this afternoon and to those that have joined us remotely for this, the 28th AGM, or Annual General Meeting. A true representation of how business events have changed as we meet again face-to-face and online. COVID-19 took remote working to a whole new level at warp speed, leading many of us to work significant amounts of time outside standard business hours in order to survive. Operations within SAACI have been much the same, with many of us moving to monthly board meetings from this dedicated team, planning various activities and continue to move forward to grow confidence with the business events sector. One such milestone was the 2021 Congress held in Johannesburg, as SAACI led by example in returning to an in-person Congress. Now, some 19 months later, from meeting with government stakeholders and industry leaders, we found ourselves with many talented individuals that have left our shores. Sorry, give me a second. Losing these professionals and experienced talent to either the pandemic, other industries, or abroad is now a bigger challenge that we face. But there is light at the end of the tunnel as things shift again in a new direction. I recently shared some thoughts with the SAACI board, and I wish to share these same thoughts and sentiments with the membership today, essentially about who we are. When thinking of an association and what it is, I refer to the definition: a group of people organized to a joint purpose. This is exactly what SAACI is: a membership base of like-minded professional individuals and companies working together to better their business events environments. And this has never been more relevant. I feel very strongly that as an association, we have a duty of care to our membership, to support and to lead the way. We need to keep our eyes on what's important and for all of us to focus on being the best association that we can be. Driving membership, inclusiveness, and whatever else brings SAACI closer together to achieve those goals. In mid-September, the full SAACI board had the first opportunity to meet in person, to align our thinking and workshop the strategy for the association as we move forward in this changed environment. Hosted in Cape Town at the Westin, the board brought their collective and minds to create the next new normal. We acknowledged our colleagues and our challenges and highlighted a few, which included membership retention, diversity and transformation, funding for a non-profit organization, and refining processes. We identified at least 13 initiatives that we would like to drive, and then had to agree on what was most important. We settled on 5 that we'll focus on for looking at the association's sustainability and improving value to our members. The initiatives we promised focused on a simpler member structure, as acknowledges our current difficult operating environment of the industry whilst focusing on value for memberships. This includes vetting processes for new membership and new members, short-term wins with local government and regional partners and organizations to increase funding and build confidence. A much improved communication plan, again, targeted at our membership. A further enhanced and meaningful training solution for professionalization and accreditation for members. The best way to fast track and develop a more inclusive association, diversity and youth recruitment, whilst addressing the urgent need for skills transfer. One of these focus areas was the membership and membership structure, a key point to the recovery of our sector and sustainability as we grow our membership, bringing in new and making it comfortable for old faces to return. It is up to us to grow confidence within the sector. Many of us have gone through tough times and may continue to do so for some time still. Acknowledging that whilst our members are quite different, we share so much in common. And as a collective, we will drive the association well beyond its 35 years coming up next year, as each individual or company is seen for their value as a member of this organization and having that sense of self-worth. SAACI cares for its members. I'm personally very excited about the Diversity and Youth Program, which aims to establish a shadow board made up of youth members aimed to bring new talent to the association, mentorship and exposure on the association board to fast-track diversity within the national board structure. The SAACI board has been amazing in this difficult time, and we really worked well together, focusing on collaboration with our stakeholders and industry partners to get things moving forward, always in the good faith of our membership. I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the National Office and the leadership of Blenton de Kock. His continued structured approach has allowed for the vision to be translated into reality with some difficult projects since we last met here. I thank you on behalf of our membership. To Al Shanti, thank you for your efforts in coordinating us at a remote office. It has been a learning curve for us all, and there have been some teething issues. You take it in your stride and have always learned, always, with good intent. The National Office and team are all too aware that we are playing the long game and know that over time we can't compare if we don't show the care for industry. We can't compete if we don't show care for our industry colleagues through some of the toughest times that we'll probably ever witness locally and globally. To all those in attendance, thank you for making the time to meet with us today, and a reminder to us as members to respect, listen, help, and appreciate each other. Thank you for those that have been here and for those that have pushed us forward. Thank you to our partners, industry, affiliated associations, government, and many of the other institutions that have been with us this past year. Your continued commitment to the business events industry in South Africa, in Southern Africa, is valued. In conclusion, as a board, we have agreed to actively support the vaccination rollout to help open our industry fully and make sure that we can move forward. Hashtag Jabs for Events is intended not only to get us fully open, but to save lives and livelihoods. Thank you. I'd like to now hand over to Glenn van Eck.
Thank you very much, Kim. And thank you very much for your leadership of the board over the last year as well. It's been an interesting and an interesting time. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the AGM. I have just highlighted a couple of items on the financial statements, which were sent out to you with the notice of annual general meeting, and we did not receive any questions regarding it, so I will just go through this now. Okay, so these are the annual financial statements for the year ended 28th of February 2021. If we have a look at the revenue component of it, you will see that we roughly have the same revenue shown for 2021 as 2020, which would seem to be opposite to what we would expect because of the COVID pandemic. What has come into that is that we did have a Congress money which came into the coffers in 2021 year. And there were also some MOUs which Glenton had negotiated, which brought additional funding into SAACI. You will see that we're showing an operating profit of 565,000 Rand for that financial year. What you do need to be cognizant of, though, is that 400,000 Rand of that is specifically for the Congress, which was only held in 2022 year. So that's those costs only come through in the next financial year. If we have a look at how the income was actually made up, you have the membership income of 3 million, which includes the Congress income and the income from MOUs. It also includes the income from our training academy, which included work that we did with CPUT. There's some, the standard training income was the income that we received for the online training component. We managed to recover some bad debts from the previous financial year. And then there is some interest which we received on the investment of the money that we do have. I've just highlighted some of the main costs that we have as far as SAACI goes. As you can see, a big item was the academy online fees. We are no longer doing that academy, and we are looking at a completely new way, which is what Kim has discussed earlier from our strategic planning session. You will see accounting fees are in line with what they were last year. We've managed to reduce our auditors' fees. The bad debt is actually lower than what it should be, because we actually wrote the sales backwards for people who were unable to pay for that year. So that was credited and not put to bad debts. Branch expenses obviously were substantially reduced because we couldn't really have any events to speak of. And the Congress didn't happen that year, so there was just minor costs which were part of the original planning. Our water and electricity has come down substantially because we moved away from our office. So that's just for the first section of the year where the office was still in progress. And then our other projects, which is our MOUs that we have, that is the cost of servicing those. Salaries we've also managed to reduce. And the social media used to be incorporated into PR, so that is just being moved into a different line item. The website coding obviously came down substantially, even though we did do an upgrade on the website. And our website is hosted free, so there was no cost to that. So the main notes that I would like to highlight from it, some of which I've already discussed, is that there is a 400,000 Rand amount which we received from the Johannesburg Convention Bureau in these financials, which was spent in the following year with our Congress this year. The membership fees amount includes the academy fees, so that is work that we did with CPUT, and also the income from the Johannesburg Convention Bureau. So that adds up to almost $1 million there. And as I said, the other projects costs are for the CPUT students and the training that we do on behalf of them. What are the main risks at this point in time as I see them is we will probably have a substantial bad debt write-off for this year. There are many of our members who have not been able to pay their subscriptions or their memberships, and we are trying to assist them with that as best we can. The other risk is that relying on membership income is no longer a viable option to sustain the association, and that was one of the issues that we dealt with in our strategic planning session as well. Some achievements and wins. We were very quick to move to remote working, and that brought down the costs substantially because we weren't paying for office space and telephones and many other costs that go in line with keeping a bricks and mortar office. And Glenton was stunning in being able to secure a couple of good MOUs for the year, which helped with the funding for that year. that covers the main items that I wanted to highlight from the financial statements. If I could please have a proposer and a seconder that we remain with our present auditors who have been very good in bringing down costs, David Honeyball Inc. If I could just have people put up their hand or put a thumbs up for me. I just need a proposer and a seconder, please. Benton, are you able to tell me if we've got? Sorry, I can't see in my present sharing state. Once again, can I ask for a proposal or seconder? I managed to get to the point where I can see. Corné Kroch and Claire Neal. Thank you very much. And now I will hand over to our CEO to do his report, Blenton de Kock. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Glenn. I'm just checking the sound. No, there's no feedback on the sound. We're good? Good. Okay. So I'm going to keep my earphones on, and let me just say that from Johannesburg, I've got a very tough crowd here. And you can't see them because on my left-hand side, which is their right-hand side, we're literally next to the river. So while I want to appreciate the fact that we took 5 minutes out, let me just say that everybody in Johannesburg was very pleased with that 5 minutes because it allowed us to enjoy the scenic beauty. On the onset, let me thank everybody for being here, specifically in Johannesburg. Let me thank everybody around the country, Eastern Cape, Western Cape, KZN, but also let me humbly, with total gratitude, thank all of you as members. I think as your CEO, without members, and I'm looking directly at Rendani from City of Johannesburg, and you can't see Bjorn on the back end from the Convention Bureau, let me thank the two of them first and foremost, because without partnerships as an association, we would never get there. Without members, we would never stand here. And let me thank you from the bottom of my heart as your CEO to say that your association is the only association for the second year running to have a hybrid event as an annual general meeting. Your association is the only association in South Africa to have a national congress. And that cannot happen without members. It cannot happen without partnerships. And while one accepts the falling in our current state of restrictions and our current state of where we are within our industry, two things are very clear. That the industry is opening, and by the same token, the optimism that's returning is quite exciting for all of us. The challenge though, and I think that's a challenge that I want to put out to all of us around the country that are not only dialing in online, but in venues as well, is please don't forget where we were a year ago. In the same position, optimism, and some of us let our guard down. So if you've got family members, if you've got colleagues, please ensure that they keep their mask on. And please ensure, and I'm saying this to all of us as a SAACI family, when we take our photographs today, make sure that we don't get into trouble because we're not wearing our mask. And I'm looking at Angelique. Let's ensure that we have a 1.5 meter distance going forward as well. But some highlights as I go through the year of reflection. A year ago, our biggest objective was advocacy and lobby. It remains that. What we have achieved is the following. Not only do we have the reopening guidelines, but in the last week, we've also witnessed people returning back to stadiums. Now, you might ask yourself, what has it got to do with SAACI? Well, quite simple. Within our network, and more importantly, within the work that we've done, whether it's been sitting on the TBCSA COVID-19 recovery team, whether it's sitting with the Department of Tourism recovery team, whether we're sitting with the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture and the recovery team, your association has been at the forefront to ensure that everybody returns to work. Full of the fact when I use that particular term in terms of return back to work. The rule book isn't around restriction. You see that there? Okay, I just want to close this one in. Okay. So let me know if there's an echo. Good. Okay, good. So my apologies. Okay. Got? Okay. Almost. I can stand in that side. It's fine. Let me stand that side. Cool. Sorry, my apologies. I'm gonna have to do it from the back of the wall now.
No, it's just not.
Okay, that's good. So my sincere apologies, everybody online. So we've just had a technical glitch on this side. I think there's still a feedback there. I'm gonna move towards the river, if you don't mind. Oh, there we are. Cool. So as I was saying, my sincere apologies again for being logged off online. So the clarity that we have is the following as we open up the industry, that we have to do it cautiously. We have to do it with utmost responsibility, which I know that we are doing as members. But the clarity that I always have when we're working within our government sphere of lobbying and advocacy is that our industry is always seen as probably the first one to be picked on, which I know it's kind of unfair because a lot of you would agree with me that our industry hasn't been totally open for the last year. But let me also give you the assurance of the following, that as we saw return of spectators last week to Stadia, we will be seeing, and I know that's a big push for exhibition members, getting more feet and more day delegates and exhibitors into venues as well. And I think in the coming weeks, and most of us are watching the Inter-Africa Trade Fair as to how they prepare themselves and how that event actually unfolds and gets delivered. For us, we see that as possibly not only the catalyst, but I think a lot of learnings that we are taking out of that now as we work behind the scenes, preparations of the venue, as well as how the organizers are preparing themselves, that when we are moving, not only will we ensure that we do it correctly, but we'll actually have additional proof of concept ideas going forward. As I close and being mindful of the time, let me do the following things. Let me thank you as members one more time, because I think at the start, you might not have felt that sincerity from my side, which I doubt, but I think the gratitude that I have for everybody that we've worked with on a daily and weekly basis to get us to where we are as an association. Because without your support, next year, your association celebrates 35 years in existence. And as your CEO, I'm reminded on a daily basis that there have been people before me in this position, there have been board members before us that have set us up to get here. Yes, the last 19 months have probably changed the way that we do business. It's also changed how we have viewed ourselves as an association. But I think it gives us an opportunity to not only celebrate and reflect the last 35 years, but actually help the future generation in the next 35 years as we go forward in understanding that whatever this normal is, whether correctly or wrongly so, that we not only do it for the future generation, but as I said earlier, we bring everybody back that not only lost their businesses, lost their jobs, or lost loved ones, but we do it for ourselves as a country or destination SA. Let me in closing say the following. Like yourself, I've also lost people close to me. I think it like yourself, it also has affected how we see things and how we go about doing our work. But make no mistake about it, that every lesson learned not only makes you stronger, but also drives me personally, I think drives some of us that I've been dealing with to do the right thing in the future and ensure that we not only save our industry, but build it back better in the future as well. So in closing, before I hand back to Denise and to Kim to go through the MOI ratification, let me thank the board under the leadership of Kim Roberts. Let me thank all the board members, all the branch committees for your constant calling out, your constant volunteering to help. And let me also say that your help will be needed in the coming months as we close out the financial year, but as we go forward in celebrating the 35th anniversary and existence of the association. So thank you, and let me hand over back to Denise going forward. And again, apologies for that quick interruption we had at the technical level. Thanks very much. Over to you, Denise.
Thanks, Glenton. As you know, you were all asked to vote on the suggested changes to the MOI. And thank you to everybody who did vote on that. All the votes received were in favour of the changes, with the lowest yes rating being 60% and the highest one being 100%. So, you know, everybody was in favour of the changes, or the majority were, and therefore all these changes are now ratified. As we said at our last board meeting as well, you know, this MOI is a constantly changing document. So we will be changing as things change in our industry. We will, you know, consistently or constantly be requesting changes so that we remain relevant and up to date. I would like to just ask if you would put the new logo on the screen so we can just explain. We also asked everybody to vote on the logo, and interestingly enough, we had 100% that were in favour of the new updated logo. But I just wanted to tell you a couple of things about it. The picture on the left there is actually, the dot in the centre is a table, and those are people sitting around, you know, a conference table. And then SAACI, we did talk at length about maybe, because we are becoming an African association, and there's lots of interest from African countries and convention bureaus and other things that you will be informed of when, you know, when we do have news to tell you. But no, I've forgotten what I was going to say. I ramble on. So, but just to say that we felt that we didn't want to change the word SAACI because that's become really known. So we don't want it anymore to stand for the Southern African Association for the Conference Industry. We just want it to be SAACI and the Business Events Division, so that all the African companies will, you know, also be happy to be part of us, and we can be a more kind of global or continental association. And also the green dot on the I, for those of us who really into sustainability, we chose green as the colour there. So that could signify that SAACI members are also, you know, keen on sustainability. So that's really, as I say, we had 100% vote on that, which was great. So that's all there really is on the logo. Can I hand back to Kim now? Kim is going to, no, Glenton, sorry, you're going to talk about the youth and learning portfolios before Kim handles general. Thanks.
Thanks for that, Denise. Yeah, just for clarity purposes, in the MOI, traditionally the learning and the youth portfolio have been co-opted onto the board. And that's been a long-standing sort of MOI approach in terms of the governance from SAACI side. What the board has proposed, and as part of the MOI changes, is that those two seats or those two positions become part of the permanent board structure. The current incumbent in that position is Minister, who has been sort of been from the youth, and I think he still qualifies in terms of the age category, under 35, as well as ST from CPUT, who was co-opted to assist in the learning side of things. So we're just requesting in terms of the MOI process that the membership ratifies that, which they obviously have in the MOI process, but we wanting to ensure that those two positions, as I said earlier, are more of a permanent basis than a co-opted basis, so that there's not only sustainability, but also covers the two important elements of society and where we are moving to within our industry, around bringing more youth into the sector, but also ensuring that our learning aspects are dealt with a career path built over time as well. Thanks, Denise.
Good afternoon and welcome back from myself. As we move to the general part of the agenda, just in the venues, if you can direct any general comments or questions to your regional chairperson, otherwise we can put them online and we can then answer any general questions. Anybody for any general questions in Cape Town? I don't know, maybe if the regions can just confirm in their venues if there are any questions in the venues, because there's nothing that's come through online. Thanks, John. I received yours. Thanks, Alistair. I can confirm they're none in Cape Town as I stand here. Thanks, Irene. Okay, and there's no questions online. So that being said, again, I would like to thank all our sponsors that have supported us today. Special thanks to the South African National Convention Bureau for their support and the venues that have given us their space, the technical teams, the various, I know there's some beverage sponsors in the various venues, so I'll allow the regional chairs to deal with that, so not to give unfair airtime to the various partners. But, you know, it can't be done without people like yourselves supporting the association. And it has been a tough year and it continues to be so. So every bit of help, and a lot of that even comes in time, is much appreciated. You know, it's not always the rands and cents. Sometimes it's just the time. And I have to put a thanks to the board and for their time and for their efforts and for the numerous discussions, the numerous conversations, and of course meetings. You know, when we came out to start off at the start of the pandemic, we were meeting, I think, every 2 weeks, and prior to that, we met once a quarter. And now we meet monthly, and it really has made a difference for us as an association to be able to move forward with the many projects that we've been involved in. So I have to say, stand up and thank you to all my board members, and then of course to all those people that have supported us along the way. I'd like to hand back to you, Denise. Thank you.
Okay, cool.
Sorry, everyone. I thought Kim was going to do the closing, but it also gives me an opportunity to thank Kim very sincerely for all the hard work that she's put in as well. And as she said, the National Office, Clinton and Ashante, you've worked 24/7. Yeah, you really are fantastic. So thank you so much for that. So we would also like very much to thank the South African National Convention Bureau for the support they've given the association this year. We couldn't have done this without you, so thank you very much for that. And so we would like to close the formal part of the AGM, and now we can all have a glass of wine and a snack together and hope for better things this coming year. So thanks very much. Thank you. Thanks. Clinton, are you just waving, or do you want to say
No,
something?
I am waving, but we have to wait for the quiz guys to log in. So I've been asked to do a bit of a acrobatic
The
act here in
dream
the river.
team.
Dream team. Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe
Yeah.
just to reiterate and also to thank the venue. So what I'll do is I'll thank the venue in the Eastern Cape, the Pickering Park venue, which used to be the old Elizabeth venue. The Western Cape, where the team is in the Western Cape, the Westin, for their continued support. In KZN, and I hope I'm going to get this right, Irene, +258, the Mozambique restaurant. And in Gauteng, as I said, we're on the river here at Africlassic Rivonia Lodge. And then to our sponsors, there is South African National Convention Bureau, to Amanda, who's in person in Cape Town. Amanda has asked me to clarify that they have supported us financially, but we didn't obviously account correctly because that money was part of the membership fees. So I clarified that with her offline. So thank you for their continued support. And to Bjorn, who's sitting here with us in Johannesburg. To the following, I'd say winemakers, Survivor, who I know some of my colleagues in Gauteng are looking forward to taste in terms of the wine tasting afterwards. And they're all looking at me very crazily over here. And then also down in the Western Cape to Spier Wine Estate for their assistance. Fat Cats Catering in the Eastern Cape. The Westin, as I said, down in the Western Cape, and B&E Conference Center, who obviously are managing the Pickering Park venue. Thank you for their continued support in the Eastern Cape. HireZone, Magnetic Storm, and the Dream Team Catalyst, who we're waiting to log on for the quiz. I've thanked the Mozambique, and obviously, as I said, we're down at Africlassic Lodge. I'm just waiting to see a signal from Magnetic Storm team, if we've got them online.